Step into the doors of an art gallery and be amazed by his talent, or you can simply drive down the street and look up at the wall.
You know, it's funny, I'm doing a profile on the great Ernest Shaw because it was a profile that framed his life, and I love those who remember where they came from, and he wants us to remember that this is all for us. Don't notice the color of skin. Stare into the eyes. When Ernest's eyes popped open on the third floor of an apartment building on Division Street, he saw his mother.
And I literally would sit crisscross applesauce at her feet.
She was an artist. Dad played jazz. Neighbor Cocky lived across the street, crossing it with paintings.
Images of African women and boys and children on our wall while my mother was painting cityscapes out of the window at different times of the day with music playing in the background.
Then, at the age of 3, with a black and brown crayon and a white piece of paper, he attempted to do a profile of his mom while she sat on a couch soaking in a soap opera.
She had an afro. You would think that would be easy. But the forehead, nose, lips, and to this day, sometimes I still have issues with that, and I think it's mental.
He got frustrated, snapped the crayon, ripped the paper.
And I had a meltdown, just like a regular 3 or 4-year-old would.
As life would happen, Ernest would go to kindergarten, and guess what his first assignment would be?
Assignment was self-portrait, and he held up my self-portrait as an exemplar of what he wanted to see, you know, in the other students' work, and I remember that feeling. You're going to create a small version of that called a zine. So what you're going to do is create a timeline. When I have a utensil or an instrument in my hand, I try to not lose consciousness, but I try to become, I let go.
From Baltimore School for the Arts, making friends with Tupac, to Morgan, to Howard, to the walls of Baltimore, back to class, where he is now the teacher.
Education means to inspire people to live more abundantly.
The majority of the work is done here.
Up at 3, water, meditates, reads, makes tea, exercises, and then creates.
When Michelangelo painted the ceiling in the Sistine Chapel, he used people in his vicinity as his models.
So he used his daughter on the wall here at Park and North. She was 8 years old at the time, 26 today. And if you noticed, Ernest used what's called drips in the art world. Mom noticed.
Drips here. If you look at my work, there are drips in a lot of my work. You know, you can tell. The first time I ever used a drip technique, she questioned it and she didn't like it. And that was the moment I knew I was onto something.
Well, no way did he see the drips of tears streaming down his face when his 8-year-old son died of cancer.
He came to me in a dream I would also call a vision, and he hugged me. When he hugged me, time stopped, and I knew what eternity felt like.
4 years after his son's death, he painted his son's portrait.
I thought I was doing a portrait of him at 8 years old, but my mother, right, and others, my lady friend at the time, my woman friend, who is now my wife, my daughter, all saw him at 12 years old.
It's amazing how this man has made a full circle like an eye on the face that he paints. A man continuing to give back to Baltimore. A man who remembers his first teacher.
And I wished that if he's still around, I could have a conversation with him. I was kindergarten, first grade, Fermanagh Templeton on Pennsylvania Avenue, Mr. Rudisell.
When you strike oil in the ground, you get rich. When you find talent in a child, you get richer. He finds talent in his class, and just like Mr. Rudisill found talent in Ernest.
So if I can find Mr. Rudisill, and it's just to thank him, because that actually changed the trajectory. I think that put me on a trajectory of success as an artist.
And to have that talent. Listen, we are looking for Mr. Rudisill. Now, former city councilman Carl Stokes messaged me and said he remembers a Cleveland Rudisill. So we're trying to hook up and see. But Anybody that knows Mr. Rudisil, kindergarten, first grade, art teacher back at Furman Templeton, just drop me a line, and this would make Ernest Shaw so very happy.
He is so talented.
Yes,
It was
he
in his genes, obviously, between his mom and his dad.